Anunnaki base discovered in the Bucegi Mountains of Romania. The giant aliens that created mankind. Well, when we talk about Anunnaki, we're also talking about Nephilim, giants of Genesis in the book of the Old Testament. The article was originally published back in 2010, but improved here again a couple of years later. The introduction about this in the summer of 2003, in an unexplored area of Bucegi Mountains in Romania, a team from Zero Department, a top secret section of the Romanian Intelligence Service, SRI, had made an epochal discovery which could have completely changed mankind's destiny. The United States of America exercised colossal diplomatic pressure on the Romanian government, which intended to disclose the findings to the entire world. The implications became far more complex due to the brutal interference of the order of the Illuminati, they said, which sought to take control of the location of the discovery and the joint Romanian-American expedition. An expert on the strange phenomenon and also the leader of the operations for the Romanian state, Cesar Brad, is the hero, quote-unquote, of the shocking events that occurred in the Bucegi Mountains. He also had two memorable meetings with a leading representative of Illuminati and Bilderberg member. The location of the alien base inside the Masivul Bucegi Mountain, Romania. And this is where we have the location of the Sphinx of Bucegi and the Babel monoliths above the alien base. The strange visit from the most powerful Bilderberg member in May 2003, Cesar was invited by a highly important character. The meeting requested came from SRI as a result of government's intervention, and the person was a foreigner, but he spoke Romanian language very well. He was also familiar with the country. The SRI informed Cesar that the visitor was a high-ranking member of a very important Masonic lodge from Italy. He was a noble and had very strong financial influences in Romania. Now, Romania, basically the language they speak is basically ancient Latin. And it's quite close to Italian as a language. Now, this Italian from Italy that spoke Romanian, his political influence was also very high since he was able to penetrate the wall of the SRI agents and reach the DZ. Cesar felt a high pressure and a heavy weight around his person. He was surrounded by a cloud of heavy, unpleasant radiation which concealed his true intentions, and for this meeting, Cesar prepared thoroughly, isolating himself in a room and falling into a state of deep meditation to learn more about this person. The SRI helicopter brought this arrogant, tall gentleman wearing a black suit. He had a cane with ivory handle and gold inlay. His face expressed harshness, and his green eyes had a strange effect, radiating unusual coldness. He presented himself as Signor Massini, probably not the real name. He was very confident of his power and created the impression of a person who was used to giving orders. He was the leader of one of the most important Masonic lodges of Europe and also one of the most influential organizations in the world, the Bilderberg Group. Massini was very direct and stated that humans are of two kinds: those who can be manipulated and ruled, these form the majority, and those who have certain virtues and strong personalities. He said this group is part of the highest Masonic order and is very interested in the outcome of the discussion. Mr. Massini explained that the Bilderberg Group is not a Masonic lodge. It means much more than that. He said that the lodges are just facades and the real power is much higher than the 33rd hierarchical level of the Masonic Brotherhood. Massini invited Cesar to join the group, letting him understand that he will have many advantages. And according to Cesar, Massini was both physically and psychically strong, which contrasted with his age. Unfortunately for him, his power was centered on a huge ego, arrogance, and sense of superiority over the rest. Massini informed Cesar that he requested him personally using his political influence because he was impressed by Cesar's psychic power. Now, 3, the Pentagon spies with satellites. A Pentagon satellite used for geodetic espionage based on bionic technology and shape waves discovered in 2002 a separate unit in the specific area of the Bucegi Mountains of Romania. The empty space inside the mountain had no correspondence with the outside and looked like it was carved from the inside by intelligent beings, and it was definitely not a cave. The satellite scan of the mountain revealed two major energetic blocks. These barriers were made of artificial energy. The first one was like an energetic wall blocking the access to the tunnel, while the second one was shaped like a dome or a hemisphere. It was located at the opposite end of the tunnel near the center of the mountain. Massini was sure that inside the dome they will discover something extremely important. He had deep knowledge about the origin of the discovery and had known of the existence of at least one item located inside the great hemispherical hall. The tunnel and dome were strangely aligned with the rock formations from the top of the mountain known as Babel and the Sphinx of Bucegi. Now, a similar structure was found in Iraq, of all places. The Pentagon team noted that the hemispherical energy barrier had the same vibrational frequency and the same shape as one other top secret underground structure they had discovered prior near Baghdad, Iraq. And shortly after this discovery, the Iraq conflict broke out, and after a few months, the Americans had access to the bigger secret in the area, which the Iraqis knew nothing of. Massini explained, Cesar, that the content of that discovery had to do with Earth's mysterious past and the history of their secret organizations. When the Pentagon investigation noted the similarities between the underground structures of Baghdad, Iraq, and the one from Bucegi Mountains in Romania, Massini and his lodge became extremely agitated. Initially, they've almost panicked. The panic was due to the fact that this structure, much larger and more complex than the one from Iraq, is on Romania's territory. Apparently, Romania is probably to play an important role in the downfall of the secret societies that control the world and enslave mankind, and it was also suggested somewhere above the Bucegi Mountains an energetic pyramid is located, which is invisible to the naked eye and contains the real history of our planet. One can imagine their panic. Now, Massini brought to the drilling site an ultra-sophisticated hard rock drilling machine used by U.S. military, and the device used a strong plasma jet and a sort of rotating magnetic field, literally melting the rock with no visible effort. Now, the secrets of the Bucegi Mountains, and now we're a little bit later, this is year 2003. What happened? They were able to achieve penetration of about 60 to 70 meters, that's about 200 feet down, away from the first energetic barrier, and reached the first gallery, which looked like a subway tunnel. Its walls were perfectly polished. At the end of the tunnel, there was a massive stone gate, which was protected by an invisible energetic barrier. 3 members of the first special intervention team tried to touch the door and immediately died of cardiac arrest. Any object, rock, plastic, metal, or wood, thrown at the barrier immediately turned into fine dust. 2 generals from the Pentagon and the U.S. President advisor arrived on the spot. Number 6, the Grand Gallery. Beyond the formidable energy barrier, which caused the deaths of the 3 people that tried to, enter there was also a solid rock gate. On the tunnel's wall just in front of the gate, there was an area of 20 square centimeters on which there was precisely drawn an equilateral triangle pointing up. The square was located between the huge grinding stone gate and the invisible energy barrier. Caesar felt that there is some kind of compatibility between the energetic barrier and himself, something like a mutual sympathy, quote unquote. His hand lightly touched the surface of the energetic barrier, and he felt a tingling on the skin. The shield was completely harmless to him, so he stepped forward, passing right through it. The U.S. officials were absolutely stunned. Cesar estimated the barrier to be no more than an inch thick. He touched the triangle drawing located at the center of the square, and the gigantic stone door suddenly slid to the left into the wall. That command also canceled the energetic barrier, giving them access to the huge room, which was later named the Grand Gallery. Even though there was no visible light source, the Grand Gallery was perfectly lit. After turning off the first energetic barrier, the huge hemispherical shield at the other end of the room suddenly turned to a higher vibration and started emitting higher radiations. On a closer analysis, the wall inside the Grand Gallery seemed synthetic, but also felt like something organic was part of it. It had the color of oil, but the reflections were green and blue. Later tests revealed that the wall's material was somewhat rough to the touch, but it could not be scratched or bent. It withstood any attempt of breaking, piercing, or cutting. Later, the scientists tried to burn the material, but in a mysterious way the flames were somehow absorbed within it, leaving it untouched. The American scientists agreed that the material is a mysterious combination of organic and inorganic matter. After 280 feet, the gallery suddenly turned into the right at a sharp angle. Further ahead, a blue, sparkly light could be seen. The blue light at the end of the gallery was a reflection of the protective shield of energy. 7. A similar base in Iraq. The U.S. advisor on national security issues received a call that he was notified that the energetic field from Baghdad, Iraq, had suddenly activated, and it was also pulsating at a higher frequency. In front of the shield from Baghdad, a hologram of our planet appeared, which sequentially and progressively depicted the European continent. Then moved to the southeast, then it showed the Bucegi Mountains from Romania, and finally it showed their location within the structure's corridor. It was obvious that the two hemispherical energy shields were in direct connection. Basically, the Iraqi base had been notified about the presence of people inside the Romanian base. The bad news was that the U.S. presidency was notified and it contacted Romanian diplomacy. In just a few minutes, the whole operation had been closed, and Lord Massini's plan went down the drain. The U.S. presidency demanded to take control over the secret base and the entire operation. The Romanian politicians who knew nothing of this underground secret operation panicked. The Pentagon's generals present at the scene had been informed that Washington demanded an urgent meeting. 8. CSAT, Supreme Defense Council Energy Emergency Meeting. An emergency session of the Supreme Defense Council, CSAT, had created a huge wave of sympathy for the Zero Department. Most were shaken by the news they received. The CSAT's decision was to continue the research, but under Zero Department's complete control. They've had also demanded an inventory of everything found in the Great Room. From Bucharest, Romania's capital, the orders came in waves, canceling each other. Some were very vehement and strict, while others were elusive, denoting the huge tension. CSAT's members were in continuous session, keeping in touch with the Bucegi Mountains team. After discussing everything for hours, they decided to make the discovery public. The Romanian government was to make a formal statement to the entire world. Some CSAT members vehemently opposed the decision. 9. Romania's official statement. When the U.S. diplomacy had been informed that Romania will disclose the discoveries, everything turned into chaos. The president was called for a direct phone conversation with the White House. Within hours, the U.S. blocked all financial transactions with Romania and its access to all other financial institutions. Romania was about to declare state of emergency in the Bucegi Mountains and the capital. The talks between the U.S. officials arrived in Bucharest and the Iranian Emergency Department took place without a translator. The U.S. officials were verbally violent, consistently shouting and uttering threats to Romania and its officials. Romania's official disclosure to the world would have provided photographic evidence and anything else essential for a complete clarification. Leading scientists and researchers from all over the planet were to be invited for in-depth studies. But most importantly, it would have revealed the truth about mankind's distant past and the real history, which, according to what Cesar witnessed inside the Grand Gallery, is almost entirely counterfeit. The reaction of the U.S. government was so brutal because that disclosure would have shattered their global influence and power in an instant. The official reason cited by U.S. was not to create panic in the world, but they had omitted to acknowledge that the current state of global anguish is a direct result of deliberate manipulation for millennia. Now, there was also an intervention from the Vatican. If you wonder how did the Vatican find out about this discovery, you should know that they are at the top of the world's control pyramid. The Pope promised to make certain documents available to the Romanian state from the ancient papal secret archives, which were of great importance for Romania. the documents were backed up by discoveries, and yes, that's how powerful the Pope is. After 24 hours of negotiations, the final agreement occurred between Romania and the USA. The Romanian state was to postpone the disclosure and gradually present everything to the people. Number 10, the project room. The Grand Gallery ended abruptly with a giant auditorium, 30 meters in height, that's about 98.5 feet, and a length of about 100 meters, that's 328 feet long. The projection room was smaller in size and it was protected by an energetic field. Advancing towards the shield, the energetic shield, a portion of it disappeared in the shape of a door, allowing access inside it. The shield protected the room by any outside influences, and once inside the room, the shield became compact and looked like a white golden wall. Basically, the shield formed this dome-shaped room with curved walls and ceiling, and at the back of the room, at a height of about 34 to 39 feet, the shield ended where it touched the room's stone wall. In this wall, there were 3 enormous tunnel holes, one located straight ahead, the other 2 were symmetrical on both sides. They were lit by diffused light in a greenish tint. Both sides decided to prohibit the access to these tunnels, and a protocol was signed between them. 11. Tables for giants. A series of huge stone tables were arranged along the right and left walls, 5 on each side, following their curvature, and the tables were about 6.5 feet in height. The tabletops had precision cut-in reliefs, different signs of an unknown writing, and characters that resembled ancient cuneiform. The writing also contained more general symbols, such as triangles and circles. Although the signs were not painted, they had a fluorescent light radiating at various colors, different for each table. On some of the tables there were different objects, which appeared to be technical tools. From many of these tools, translucent white wires descended to the floor and entered inside shiny, silver-like rectangular boxes, and these boxes were placed directly on the floor. At a closer inspection, the cables were extremely flexible and lightweight, and light pulses could be seen circulated along their length. Each time someone approached the tables, a holographic projection was automatically activated, presenting aspects of a particular scientific field. The 3-dimensional images were perfect and had height of almost 2.5 meters at 8.2 feet. The projections were automated and ran by themselves, but at the same time, they were interactive and changed according to the signs touched on the table surface. 12. A great discovery: holographic DNA combinations between extraterrestrial species. Because of the great height of the tables, the scientists used special tripods to climb at a comfortable height. At a closer investigation, they've observed a dark glassy material covering the tabletops. The material was divided into several large squares, bounded by straight lines which formed some kind of a grid. One of the tables contained information from the field of biology, and it projected images of plants, animals, some of which were completely unknown to the scientists. After touching one of the squares, a hologram representing the structure of a human body was activated. The hologram was constantly rotating, highlighting various areas of the human body. And touching other squares activated hologram projections of extraterrestrial beings from other planetary systems. Simultaneously touching 2 different squares, a complex scientific analysis was projected, showing the DNA of both species and compatibility possibility between the 2. On the sides, in vertical lines, there were written explanations in the same alien alphabet. At the end of the simulation, a crossbreed between the 2 species was displayed. 13. Real giants. Judging by the size of all the objects within the project room, the creators of the edifice were probably very tall beings. A confirmation of giant humanoid skeletons found in Romania could be found in a newspaper called Ziarul. Quote, the team from the newspaper is accompanied by researcher Vasil Rudan, who noted that the people of the Bucegi village have concrete evidence, a cemetery with skeletons of giants. It was discovered by chance over 20 years ago when the authorities decided to plant apple trees in the village of Skaieni, and digging on the hill, the villagers discovered huge skeletons measuring more than 7 feet 10 inches tall. Dragoi Ely, one of those who worked in the apple orchard, takes us to the spot. Mr. Ely shows us around the orchard. Everywhere are tombs of giants. We were making holes to plant saplings when we found a human head as big as a pumpkin. Neither one of us had ever seen anything like that. We were all amazed. Digging further, we found some bones of the feet as big as the vineyard poles, and the dead one must have been very big. 14. The Library of the Universe. The projection room contained detailed information from fields like physics, cosmology, astronomy, architecture, technology, biology, genetics, and even religion. Because it contained so much information, the room was compared to a library. And in the middle of the room, there was a podium-like area which contained an interesting device. The scientists speculated that it might have been a device to enhance various cerebral functions. 15. Romania's control panel. Next to it, there was a command panel, covered with various geometric symbols in different colors. There were also 2 sliding levers and a red button in the center of the panel above all other commands. A holographic simulation explained the purpose of the button. It showed an image of the Carpathian Mountains as seen from 25 kilometers, that's 50.5 miles above Earth, and next an enormous quantity of water flooding the lowlands and the plains. Next, from the territories of Romania, Hungary, and Ukraine, more streams of water appeared heading towards the Transylvania Plateau in the form of huge rivers. The image focused on Romania's territory and showed most of its surface covered by the water of a great sea. Some of the tallest mountain peaks could now be seen as small floating islands. And next, the waters began to withdraw as soon as the levers found on the panel were activated, leaving sunk only a small area near the Retezat Godeonu mountain, a true manual. 16. A mysterious amphora. Behind the control panel, there was a square pedestal of about 3 meters, that's 9 feet 10 inches per side, on which a mysterious amphora was resting. Lord Mazzini had knowledge of its existence, and for him and his Masonic elite, this was the most important discovery. The amphora contained a very fine white powder. The researchers were dismayed to find that the powder was a high-purity formula of monatomic gold, with an unknown crystalline structure. The gold powder, in this pure form, greatly stimulates certain waves of energy exchanges at cellular and neural level. This causes an accelerated progress of rejuvenation. Theoretically, a man can live in the same physical body for several thousand years, provided they consume from time to time a well-defined quantity of monatomic gold power. This explains many puzzling aspects about the incredible longevity of some important figures and covers part of the hidden intentions of the global elite. 17. The real history of our planet. Behind the amphora in the middle of the square, there was a huge dome that projected holograms. It displayed the main aspects of humanity's most distant past from its very beginnings. Cesar explained that, according to the images projected by the hologram, about 90% of mankind's official history is false and counterfeit. Darwin's evolutionary theory is also incorrect. In the middle of the square is a huge dome which projects a hologram of moving parts. It contains the main aspects of the very distant past of humanity from its very beginning. Cesar explained that, according to the images projected by the hologram, Darwin's evolutionary theory is completely false. The true origin of man is depicted in a condensed holographic form. After these lessons of truth, we can say that 90% of the official history of mankind is false and counterfeit. Unbelievable, but what is now considered to have really happened in our history never did, while the so-called myths and legends are almost entirely true. Also, most archaeological theories are false. For example, the dinosaurs did not exist 65 million years ago. The oldest continents of Lemuria and Atlantis existed. This strange inversion caused many problems and conflicts between people in our past. For correct dating of the presented events, a star map corresponding to that period was projected on the background. Although the time period covered by the projections was very large, several 100,000 years, and the precession cycle of the Earth is 25,920 years, by observing the number of Platonic years, about 25,920 year cycle, the exact dating of the events was possible. The Bucegi Mountains are 50 to 55,000 years old. 18. Shocking revelations. Cesar saw what happened during the so-called Great Flood and where the human civilization originated, but he decided not to reveal this, as the revelations are too shocking for the mentality, ideas, and knowledge of the contemporary man. Personally, I think people like him are also responsible for the current state of unawareness and latency in the human species. We have been lied and manipulated for millennia, and as soon as we're close to the truth, someone decides we're not ready to hear it. And this is an arrogant, selfish approach, and people are as ready today as they will ever be, and the sooner the truth will be released, the better. So having more pieces of the puzzle will make them accept the truth easier, and more importantly, will convince them to take action against the manipulators. 19. The 3 mysterious tunnels. The discovered tunnels are thousands of miles in length and lead to 3 different areas of the planet. The one in the left connects to the Roman base to yet to be discovered underground base somewhere in Egypt, which was definitely discovered and explored by now. The right tunnel led to a similar but smaller structure in the Tibetan plateau. This tunnel had 3 secondary ramifications. One led to an underground area near the Romanian city of Bucegi, close to the Carpathian Bend. Another one led to the already mentioned Iraqi base, while the final ramification led to the underground base of the Gobi Desert in Mongolia. 20. The third tunnel, a secret world. The middle tunnel was the most important to both Lord Mazzini and the US government, which strongly requested to be kept secret to the public. The tunnel descended to extreme depths towards a veritable underground world located near the center of our planet. And those of you who are not familiar, hollow earth theory, you can note that there are important figures who support that theory, that all planets are probably hollow in the inside, and bring interesting scientific arguments to support that claim. Also, there are some very interesting and beautiful stories about people who allegedly traveled to this world, and the realm is commonly known as Agartha, and the third tunnel was probably leading straight to that. It only makes sense since the shadow elite were not interested to make discovery known to reveal to the people. Now, intense preparations began for expeditions inside all 3 tunnels as followed. The first one to Egypt, the second to Tibet, and the third one to Earth's core. The following is a transcript of the phone call. Reporter from Antenna 1 answered the phone. Reporter: hello, good afternoon. Anonymous caller: we're sending you a warning. Be very careful. Stop talking about the Bucegi Mountains. Who are you? Caller: this information must remain at the level of some structures and must not be made public. You've entered a dangerous game. You are young. You have families. There are enough subjects in this country to speak about. Reporter: Minister, who are you? Mister, who are you? Anonymous: don't wish to know us to be yourselves interviewed by us. That's all I have to say. So this is by Alexander Light on Humans Are Free, based on Radu Chinamar's book Transylvania Sunrise, and it's Creative Commons on Humans Are Free. So tell me what you think. Okay, we have some maps here, we have some claims, and I don't know how true this is or not. Anyway, please leave your comments. Thank you. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.